Hello everyone, welcome once again to the channel. The name remains Andy the Rabbit Ambassador. And if this is the first time you are watching our video, if you like the subsequent ones that we are putting across and you are okay with the teachings that we are bringing to you, don't forget to subscribe. And then also remember to press the notification bell so that anytime that we will upload a new video, you'll be the first to notify. Today I'm going to teach you a little bit on crossing. Before you cross your rabbit, what do you do? After you've crossed your rabbit, what do you do? Now, most of the time before you cross your rabbit, we emphasize, or I always say that you cross them when they are on heat. Now, the heat period automatically is the ovulation period. That's the time they are ovulating. So most of the time when you cross your rabbit during their ovulation period, the possibility of having higher number of bunnies is high. Rabbits are more or less like very prolific. They can give you between let's say 4 to 12, depending on your management, the quality of your feed, the quality of the breed, and so on and so forth. But all of this will also materialize when you are able to identify the heat period, or you are able to cross them during their heat period. Mind you, whether the rabbit is on heat or not, you can cross them, it can take seed, and they would reproduce. But sometimes, in order to let's say avoid some of the failures, there are so many instances where people cross their rabbits and they don't give birth. It's as a result of the rabbit not being on heat or the rabbit not ovulating on time. So these are some of the how do you call it, tricks that you should know about rabbit farming in order not to be missing the production periods. So what do you do? After you have selected the male, and mind you, when you are selecting a male for production, the breed plays a role. The type of male you are using plays a very big role. The ovulation also depends on the doe, but the male also play a very big role, because the breeds that you are going to get, or the breeds that you are looking at getting after your production, depends on the male 70%. Okay, so the type of male you are using will determine the type of breeds you are getting. It will also determine the size of your animals. So you look at breeds that would give you good results when you pair them. Now, after you have decided on the breeds that you want to use for crossing, you pick the female, you check whether it's on heat or not, and then you introduce the female to the male. You always have to make sure you are introducing the female to the male, not the other way around. Now, what happens is that when you bring the male to the female, okay, instead of the male concentrating on mating or crossing the female, it will rather be concentrating on the new environment you have brought it. And it will just be moving around trying to get familiar with the new environment or the new room that you have taken it. But when you introduce the female to the male, it's already familiar and used to its territory. So when you introduce the female to the male, it will concentrate on mating the female. It will concentrate on crossing the female. So that is the main reason why you have to always pick the female to the male. Now, crossing is done within the next 2 to 5 minutes. If your animals are healthy, they don't have any discomfort, and your back is very active and the female is on heat, crossing should be within the next 2 to 5 minutes. So you can just stand there, watch them to cross maybe once or twice, and then you are good to go. You take the female back to its cage. Now, a lot of people can say or will tell you that you can use you can use one bag for maybe 20 does. I'm a little bit not okay with that because that is not what I practice in my farm though. But what I can advise you is if you want to use a bag for more does, okay, what you can do is you do the crossing any other day. So I will advise you to use maybe a bag to 3 does in your production. Then you make sure that as at any time you want to do your crossing, don't repeat a crossing in a day. Don't introduce more than 2 females or more than a female, a doe, to the back in a day. You can do 1 in a day, but don't do more than 2 or 3 in a day. If not, you will not have a good result. Any other day is okay, because if you do, let's say for instance, you introduce a female and then they mate, you leave the male to rest the following day, and then the 3rd day you introduce another female. That is if you want good results. The other way you can also have multiple crossing at a go, or you can mate more females at a go, is having more bags. So if you have more, let's say I keep more bags. So if I have 10 bags and I have, let's say, 10 does to mate, I mate all of them at a go, because every doe would have a bag to mate it maybe at a particular time. And it's also advisable to mate more does at a particular time when you are into large scale production, because one, some of the does might not be capable of taking care or breastfeeding their bunnies. Some of them might be very good in giving you some quality breeds, but they will be very bad in terms of keeping or breastfeeding or taking care of their bunnies. So when you have multiple does that have littered at a particular time, or let's say in a particular day, when you identify the bad mothers, you pick their bunnies and foster them to the other ones to breastfeed, the good ones to breastfeed, and then you are good to go. That is one of the main reasons why it's good to have multiple does producing for you at a particular time or in a particular day if you cross all of them at a go. But mind you, don't use one male to cross multiple females in a day. It's not good. You will not have good result. So I'm going to display to you, when you pick the female, how do you identify the female is on heat. As for the males or the backs, they are always ready to cross. If they are active, they are very good all the time to cross. Now, most of the best time to do your crossing is either early in the morning, between the hours of, let's say, 6 to 8 or 9 a.m., or from 4 p.m. in the evening. Those are the best times that you should do your crossing, because most of the time throughout the night they have eaten well and they are very healthy, or we assume they are strong enough in the morning to do whatever they want to do. And if you should do that in the evening, definitely they have eaten from morning and they are also fit enough to give you some good results in the evening. That's why it's advisable. And then we also consider the weather condition. When the weather is too hot, they themselves, they generate heat. Like I said in the previous episodes, they generate heat, so they don't like it when the weather is very hot, and they have to engage in more activities that will make them move around. Or most of the time in the hot afternoon, you see them lying quietly sleeping and all of that. So most of the time, even if your rabbit is on heat, they don't accept the male to mate them when the weather is very hot. So it's good anytime you want to do your mating, you do it very early in the morning or late in the evening, or let's say around 4 p.m., 5 p.m. you can do your mating. So how do you identify your doe when she is on heat? Okay, most of the time, some of them react very well when they are on heat. which is their ovulation period. Even when you are trying to pick them, they raise their tail. That is one sign. Or maybe when you try to stroke their head or their back, they raise their tail. That is one sign. But it's very difficult to identify those signs if you are not an expert. But one thing that everybody can notice or everybody can look and then tell is you pick the female and then you check the vent. The vent is the female organ. Under normal circumstances, it kind of looks like orange when you pick them up. But when they are on heat, which is when they are ovulating, the vent becomes more reddish. You know, it becomes very red. Like it's very red. You can tell red between red and orange. So it becomes very red. And then you know that she is on heat. And then when you introduce it to the male, it's able to raises the tail and allows the male to cross. But when they are not ready for crossing, or maybe they are not ovulating, they are not on heat, when you introduce them to the male, sometimes they sit down, like they kind of press their tail down and sit to prevent the male to mate them. So these are some of the signs that you should look at whenever you want to cross your rabbit. And then so let me pick the rabbit for you to see. Okay, so you pick them this way and then you check. Okay, so this one is getting on heat. This one is getting on heat. Okay. All right, so we are going to introduce it to the male and see the reaction that she's going to give us. Oh, she's very active. All right. So the mating aspect. Okay, so the mating is going on. All right, so this is what you see when the female is not 100% on heat or is not at the peak of its ovulation. When you try to cross it, they might resist and not allow the male to cross. So you have to take them back to their cage and wait for a couple of days for them to get on heat, and then you bring it back. But once you have introduced it to the male, you need to closely observe it, because it can get on heat at any time. Because you have introduced it to the male, it might get on heat anytime for you to cross. So during that period of time that you have taken it back to its cage, you can check it again in the evening or the following day and make sure you have it crossed before the ovulation period passes. So here, like I'm saying, these are some of the things that you always have to observe. And then the animals will always be giving you different reactions based on the time or the moment you are trying to cross them. But it shouldn't be something too difficult that you can't, let's say, notice or identify to get them to cross for you. Now, okay, so we are going to wrap up for today. If this is the first time you are watching our videos and you like what we are putting across, don't forget to subscribe. The comment section is always open for you to tell us what you think, what you want to know, so that we will improve on our next episode. Have a nice time. Bye bye.